Vine came back home earlier than normal days. It was 4 p.m. when she reached home. Usually, her return time reached between 6 to 7 p.m. She was pissed off. She slammed her bag down and took a few deep breaths. She flinched a little when she heard a sound and realized that her boyfriend was home. The sound came from washroom, along with the sound of shower running. She wondered why he was home early. She decided to join him, so she stripped herself of her clothes and stepped inside the washroom. She walked over to him and back hugged him, closing her eyes. Jungkook was aware of her presence since she stepped inside the home. She kissed his back once and let the water wet her completely. The two stayed there quietly before he turned towards her and they finished their shower, helping each other relax and wash up. Jungkook could easily tell there was something wrong with her. He left a lot of kisses all over her neck and face in between to help her calm down. Vine was always grateful having him as her boyfriend. He could tell right away what her mood was. So when the two dressed up in their robes, he pulled her in his lap and rolled his fingers around her hair. Jungkook, what is it? Vine, Charles. Jungkook nodded. Of course he knew. Whom Vine worked for. He knew, in fact, every employee working in that building along with Vine. Vine, I felt really suspicious of him for some days. He said there is some meeting and I needed to attend it beside him, even if I was not a part of it at all. When we went in that hall, he locked the door and threw himself on me. Jungkook's jaw tingled, and the soft look in his eyes were replaced by the fire that was not going to put down easily. Vine. I kicked him and ran away, but I was so pissed. Not as much as he was now. His eyes roamed over her body. He knew she had no injury, but he just needed to make sure again. Jungkook, why going to work when I can take my lady on a date? She smiled. Oh, he knew her so well. Jungkook held her up, and the two changed up getting ready for their unexpected date. He took her for shopping and afterward a movie, which he didn't admire, but why would he complain when he could just stare at her? She was having a blast, and just looking at her this happy only provided content to his heart. Vine, I told you. It was funny. Jungkook, yeah, listening to repeated dialogues was surely funny. She pinched his arm as the two stepped out of the cinema. Vine, because it was a robot, and it was designed to repeat those dialogues to the certain questions. Lord, please give my future husband a little sense. She teased dramatically, raising her hands. praying to God, and Jungkook squeezed her waist, throwing her in his car, getting in as well. Jungkook, pray that when I make you lose your senses tonight. He started the car and tried acting like it didn't absolutely turn her on. His one hand gripped her thigh, and he handled the wheel with the other hand. Once the two reached home, Vine hopped around with a bag that held her favorite food in it. If nothing made her mood, the food would do the work always. Jungkook walked after her with his hands tucked in his pockets, and he was glad he could make up her mood. He received a notification on his cell phone which said, "Mission complete," and it only brought him to satisfaction. Vine set the food on the table and the two settled down, while Jungkook made her sit on the table, right in front of his chair. Vine, do you remember we promised when we are free we'll visit Paris? So, I am free, she said while taking a bite of her chicken. She was free. He wasn't. But he was expected to be free just because she was. It was not because he was a man and was supposed to make time and sacrifice. It was because he was a man who spoiled his lady enough to never say no to her. He took a sip of his wine, and wine moved a piece of chicken in his mouth. Jungkook, how long do you want to stay there? Wine, a week? She said casually, blinking her eyes several times dramatically to appear cute. She appeared everything but cute. Jungkook nodded and she jumped a little happily, feeding him another bite of chicken. She dropped some in process and instantly tried to wipe it off his clothes. Jungkook, it's alright, I'll do it. She tried to wipe it with her dirty hands, which caused more disaster to his once white shirt. Why, this is not right. She grabbed a tissue, and when she turned, her hand hit the glass he was holding, causing the wine to spill all over his shirt. Wine, I mean, red looks good on you. Her cheeks turned pink, but he just chuckled, causing her to let out a slight laugh. Her phone rang and she picked it up, but what she heard from other end left her in shock. She had her eyes wide as the size of saucers, and the way she looked at Jungkook told him she got the news. Wine, you know what happened? She said, hanging up the phone call. Wine, the whole office got on fire, and it was of ours, thankfully, so no one was hurt. But they said Charles was still inside. Jungkook, fire? Well, that's new. Wine raised her brow. He casually wiped his shirt with tissues. Wine, Jungkook, do you have anything to do with it? Jungkook, me? Well, princess, you know me better. Wine, just be real and tell me, did you do this? Jungkook, yes, I did. And I'll do it all over again if anyone as might as even look at you with the wrong eye. I won't tolerate that behavior. Vine was speechless. She didn't know what to say. He didn't have to do it, but it was done already, and she knew how protective he was of her. Vine, I love you. She pecked his lips, and he pulled her in his lap, making sure she ate well. And later on, the two had a dance with his wine filled shirt and her clumsy steps, half drowned in alcohol.